What's up, guys? How's it going out there? I was been thinking about conversations and languages, and it popped to my mind that in terms of communication, how we say things and how we portray things to each other, certain things are transcendent of any language that is spoken, and that is language that you find either in art and pictures, sculptures. Uh, Mostly, I'm talking about symbology. The meaning of symbols and the meaning of popular either icons, memes, and even symbols in of themselves to portray a message. I think it's important that, especially in terms of, being a pagan, or even if you're a Christian or Muslims, there are symbols such as the cross, such as, the Alpha and Omega symbols. You see it in the symbols in terms the dove that's carrying an olive branch. You see it in, you know, the idea of a lion, the burning bush. All of these things, if you can look at them, they have meanings. They have things that you can attach to. You might think a symbol of a burning bush might not have too much to say. We know the story, or at least I believe that most of you do. Moses gets contacted by God through a burning bush. It's not typical because, you would have an angel come talk to a prophet or whatever the case may be, not necessarily a burning bush, but there's a bit of symbology behind that. Not necessarily going to go into the burning bush itself, at least not for this video, but it's to portray the idea. The symbol of the lion, lions throughout history and even on flags, you see them as powerful, creatures that, king of the jungle. Oftentimes they're adorned with gold, they're adorned with flags and drapes across their body to symbolize the power and prosperity of a nation. Jesus, in particular, being known as the Lion of Judah, that is seen in both Christianity in terms of symbology and in, Islam in terms of, symbology. In terms of counterculture, in this case, you see the Star of David, and then you see the warped and changed Star of David as the five-pointed star. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, uh, the 5 points of the Baphomet, for example. These are time tested, popular symbols that all of us know, but also have attachments to them. Once again, the Alpha and Omega symbols, though less portrayed, oftentimes exist. When you see either flags or you see even churches themselves in their architecture, you see that they put some of these symbols sometimes. Now you have broader things. For example, in art, where entire scenes are depicted. And this is where the language really shines, and where sometimes you can portray entire stories on one picture, and even sometimes messages in one picture. For example, you can see a scene where one person is higher up than another. One person has a different skin tone than another. Red, black, sometimes pearly white, sometimes, like this kind of really dark green. You see skin tones in terms of like when they're half creature, half angels, they'll have what seems to be either tattoos or adorned gold on their body, or they'll have skin tones that are outright black or red in terms of demons or things that are seen as being evil. So when you see these paintings, um, you recognize some of that and you can tell the story. It really is an entire language. Guys, I love this stuff. And the reason is you can sort of see these things in terms of transcending time. We have depictions of religion, paganism, that is centuries and centuries old, that show these symbols, that show these ideas and themes that are well known today, except today it's writing. In terms of runes, in terms of, how you have tarot cards, a little bit going on the other side, what's seen as mainstream religion for nowadays, i.e., the Abrahamic religions, but all of these things are filled with symbols that have meaning, that are a language that we speak to each other. I believe in this day and age when we want to, um, I guess you could say, hide things, or in this day and age, although it is the information age, these days you will also see that it's a lot of this stuff, a lot of things that you want to give in terms of messages, they're heavily censored and monitored. So to be able to use symbology that is transcendent of language, at least the spoken word or written word in language, is something that when is seen can affect a spiritual thing within the individual as well as portray feelings. Because if you have an artist that can portray a feeling and then the feeling that that symbol can emit into others can be very powerful and very strong in terms of uh, not just the message alone, but how it can transcend time and even be transported without being modified or bastardized by the next generation. It's great how some of these symbols and even some of these themes, although they are centuries and centuries old, they are so copied that it's funny to me that as much as they are copied, they have yet to lose their meaning. In particular, you know, we all know the five-pointed star. The Baphomet star, the star of what's typically seen as Satan, the goat head, uh, goats in general, or horned creatures in general, in terms of what is portrayed as being evil. And in our particular case, for a lot of pagans, what is seen as being, uh, the the light bearer, the Lucifer. Languages that are of, spoken word, languages like how I'm speaking to you right now, you all can understand what I'm saying. But as much as I can inspire you, is it necessary for me to say that through a few words and I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes that I can say them to you can be as inspiring or as transcendental as the actual great piece of painting or art that you could look at and, you know, it never changes its actual meaning. But you can look at it today, and then a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you look at it again, and it makes you feel something that you haven't felt before. And all of that um, is a language in of itself, and maybe even a language that could be seen as energy.